Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get in the Ring 4. It's the fourth one.
IV.
In Roman numerals.
We've got a tournament.
Yes.
We're going to crown a new champion.
Is that the one that was in, like, multiple cities, or was that 3?
2 was the one that was in Chicago, LA, and New York, I believe. That was the simulcast one.
You're right.
Not the best one. 4 was the tournament for the title because Hogan had the title and had...
Or was it DiBiase? I think, like, he bought the
DiBiase
title or something?
Oh, yeah, there's the controversy with Andre, because DiBiase was managing Andre, and he, like, bought the title.
But it became vacant because of that. Because
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
buy the title off of him.
Exactly, and then that's where Macho won.
I think
at the end of
so.
4.
That sounds right.
Yes, yes.
Well, wrestling. I'm Alex Navarro. I am not a wrestler. Dan Reichert, you're like wrestling adjacent.
I get kicked in the nuts once every couple months.
Yeah, look, what you do on your personal time is really neither here nor there. But but we do have an actual wrestling personality.
I am professionally employed to wrestle people.
He is.
That's your job.
And he's very good at it.
I am a wrestler.
This is
Gentleman Jack Gallagher from WWE.
a gentleman both in kayfabe and shoot.
Yes, everyone, I believe the first time you met me, we were texting back and forth, and I was using I can only describe as very British language.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, we'll go have a natter. And,
Yeah.
and Dan genuinely thought, like, is he trying to put me on here?
Well, you always hear about living the gimmick, but there's also like just being the gimmick, and I feel like you are just a gentlemanly British man.
This whole thing developed from, like, I would go to an MMA. I worked and trained at an MMA gym, and I would turn up in quite nice suits, train, and get back in them, and everyone kind of started referring to me as Gentleman Jack as that, and then it just kind of became the thing in wrestling eventually because it was just a nickname that sort of stuck. I didn't have the mustache always. Like the
When did that come? Was it pre-WWE?
That was just pre-WWE.
Okay.
And just before WWE, I was doing a circus strongman character.
Oh.
So just before WWE, I was doing circus strongman, and it was called The Extraordinary Jack Gallagher. And I was thinking, oh, this cruiserweight thing's coming up because I knew it was happening.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I probably can't be a strongman because they have one of those. They had
Simon Gotch at the time.
So it became more the Extraordinary Gentleman. So the actual gentleman, the true gentleman thing debuted in WWE.
So the umbrella was introduced in the Cruiserweight Classic. Is that the first time you used that?
The umbrella. I ended up with that bloody thing by accident, right? So we had the duel. So I said at one point, in jest, maybe I should go down to the ring, slap a guy with a glove, and challenge him to a duel. Lo and behold, the next week, they said, we're doing that. I said, wonderful. I don't know what we're going to do for a duel because I can't shoot anyone in the ring.
Right.
Probably.
They usually frown on that.
It's not part of the Queensberry rules, I imagine.
Yeah, like maybe in DDT or something you could pull that off, but probably not in a WWE ring.
It would end a lot of street fights quicker, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. So I said to them, well, why don't we have an arrangement of weapons? And there was like a martial art that Sherlock Holmes apparently did, where it involved cane fighting. So I said, get me an umbrella or a cane, and I'll do something with that. And then I had the umbrella, and then we did the duel, and it was very well received, and it's one of the most viewed things I've ever done, which blows my mind that this ridiculous joke got out of hand. And then we advertised it on the network with me holding the umbrella. And I had an umbrella at home I jokingly referred to as William all the time. Okay. So I was like, oh, this is William III, because I'd broken a couple. I was like, this is William III, and you should watch the duel I'm having on 205. And then the next week, fans started shouting at me during the entrance, where's your umbrella?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I would come in backstage, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to start carrying a bloody umbrella with me.
Yep.
I'm stuck with this now.
That thing is now your traveling companion. It is your best friend. You will never leave your side.
The looks I've gotten going through customs.
Oh, I bet.
Getting that thing through. Because I have an umbrella. There's obviously there's prop umbrellas as well that's in the truck.
Right.
Which is next to Triple H's sledgehammer. That's where we are in the world.
Equally lethal.
Equally lethal.
Indeed.
Same bats there.
Barbie's there. The barbed wire bat is there as
They keep
well.
that?
They do, yeah.
They brought it out
So
when
I have
Ambrose.
to not barbed wire myself when I'm getting an umbrella.
Yeah, I bet
Right.
that thing would catch on the jacket material pretty easily.
I would be so angry if I lost a button because of an umbrella.
Between the umbrella and the trombone, it's kind of the golden age of named inanimate objects in WWE.
I'm lucky I didn't remember that there was another named inanimate object because it probably would have put me off naming it. Yeah, there's that. The luchadors have a piñata now as
Right,
well.
right. I saw that last night.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand, isn't it? We've not gone too far.
Not
as,
complaining.
as a man who experienced a joke that went entirely too far, you have come to the right website because that is pretty much the entire ethos of what we do. Jokes taken way, way too far.
Wonderful. Yeah, how's anime?
That was. It's gone beyond being a joke. Now we just like anime.
Good.
We
good.
went to an anime convention and spoke at a panel. And
I've watched it.
Oh, boy.
Which I'll admit, when they showed the out of context clips of like watching that, I went, oh yeah, Gundam Wing was quite fun. So I've been rewatching Gundam Wing because of you guys now.
Oh, wow.
So-
we've just done Dragon Ball so far. I don't know what the future holds, but we like Dragon Ball so much that I don't think the anime lust can be quenched by just Dragon Ball.
Are you the only catch wrestling practitioner who is on record as being a big anime fan?
Oh, Josh Barnett, I believe, is
Okay.
a big anime fan.
All right.
I'm probably a better catch wrestler than me as well.
Okay.
And a big fellow.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I'll-
he definitely has the size advantage.
he definitely does. So
He would not make it to 205 Live.
You'd have to cut off a leg.
Yeah.
So no, I'll give that to Josh. But I'm probably the only English catch wrestling practitioner
Okay.
who's into anime.
That's still a good distinction. You know,
can do
you're the
that.
only one on the island.
I can get that.
All right.
I've got that.
Well, we'll check in with anime shortly because we asked you earlier like a couple of games you might want to play. One of the ones you mentioned was SmackDown: Here Comes the Pain, which I was just stung to realize I did not actually own. But the other one you mentioned was Ultimate Muscle for the GameCube there. So we are going to play that in a little bit. But before that, I kind of wanted to check in. As we always apparently do on this series with Fire Pro Wrestling World, because the PS4 version of that is coming out next week. And I just thought it would be fun just to check out the port real fast. We're going to do a real quick look for it later, but let's play some matches. What do you say?
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. So this is the game. They have there's not a whole lot to, I'll get into it with a quick look, but the main thing is this Fighting Road mode, which is their story mode for New Japan.
Okay.
Which is a visual novel style story mode that has you as a rookie working your way up through the whole ranks of New Japan, and it is that very specific regimented way they bring people up.
Okay.
Start out as a young lion, you eventually go abroad and do your your foreign excursion,
excursions.
but you do it in the fake wrestling league that the game came with before the New Japan update.
Also, like fake Vader and fake Dr. Death and all.
Yeah,
those.
like one of your mentor in that mode is named Steel Johnson.
Okay,
it's
great.
like that.
Okay, good.
And then
Hope
eventually
that doesn't change with the port coming over.
no, I'm pretty sure they're sticking with it.
Good.
I thought some of the images you posted to Twitter were fakes, and then I found out it is just stuff about like Naito's steely gaze meets you.
Yeah, no, they definitely realized that a lot of people are very horny for New Japan's roster, and so the whole mode is kind of just dripping with this really intense sexual tension.
So I don't know how familiar you guys are with previous story modes in Fire Pro.
I'm pretty familiar. I haven't played them all, but I've played a few of them, and there's one that got a fan English translation recently, but it's not the Suda one, sadly.
I was going to ask, the Suda one is the one I always remember.
Yes.
Wow, they really went very far with this one, didn't they?
This has a slightly different tone to
I
it.
imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, this is a little bit less about the futility of life and and success and all of that, and a little bit more of hey, what if all the wrestlers were just my best friends and we hung out and we wrestled together and it was super cool?
Oh, that sounds much nicer.
Yeah, it's much more friendly.
I don't need existential crises.
No, I get enough of that in real life. All right, well, who wants to jump in with me? Let's do some. We do a triple threat. We could start out with one-on-one. What do you want to do?
I'm up for a triple threat if you are, and also
that sounds good, yeah.
yeah, and also if you want to let us know as folks who have not played as much Fire Pro as you,
Yes.
just kind of what to
I will
do
give you
here.
the basics,
Okay.
but let's just pick what we're doing here first. We'll just start with a normal match.
Okay.
Normal triple threat.
I remember timing was a big thing. With this
Yes,
game, right?
it is definitely a big thing.
Okay.
So everyone just power on your controllers.
Okay.
And I think it'll just pick my username, and that will probably be the easiest way to go.
That won't log you out?
No,
if
it
does
should
that?
it should just sign in as a guest, I think.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I'll say-
Oh,
I
that
think
just log
sometimes
you
it
out?
logs you out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll do my thing. I think
We
you
can
can do
just
new
swap- we can
users.
just
Okay, we'll
I can
swap,
also
and then you
log
can
into
just
mine if you
jump
need.
in as a guest. All right, I'll pick this one. So,
Oh, this is me.
I'll go do it. I'll be in there. Hold on.
okay.
You don't want to say this over a stream?
I don't see what could go wrong there. Sounds great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Very much.
So yeah, we got the whole officially licensed New Japan roster
Wow.
here now. It's not everyone, but it's a lot of it. And then this is just I just dumped a whole bunch of random edits. A lot of these are going to be in Japanese name-wise because right now Japanese players are the only people uploading to this version.
Oh, of course.
It's out in Japan.
It's been
right?
out in Japan for a couple of weeks. So,
Okay.
we got some options here. I'm going to go with an old favorite of mine, Mr. Rey Mysterio.
That was a good choice.
Yep.
He's the pre-order bonus for the upcoming WWE one, right?
Is he?
I
Yes.
think he is.
Okay.
Him and Ronda. I've seen the commercial a lot.
All right.
So I can go over to red
So you
corner
just go
here?
over to either side, and then, I think we just...
2T. All right. And
Yep.
then how do I pick my... Oh, here we go.
No entry, and then you can just go up to the
Alright.
top, and that'll swap categories like or groupings.
Okay. So if I want to pick like WWE or...
So this is all just everyone.
Okay.
If you want to go to New Japan, that would be the other one.
Let's see. I might pick a WWE guy here. It's new Dean Ambrose?
No, I think it's all Dean. Oh no, that's
pretty close.
I think
to
someone
new
actually
Dean Ambrose.
updated that model because when I downloaded it, he had the old haircut.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
He had the old floppy bangs and everything.
I'm going to go with AJ.
Okay.
The new Dean Ambrose, both in the look and the in-ring style, I know you didn't see Raw, it's much improved.
Okay.
It was the most into like Dean Ambrose I've been since like original Shields.
Okay. And then you can just pick, I think, either side, and then it should.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go for New Japan people. I see enough WWE people in my real
That's
life.
fair. That's totally fair.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
Of course. Oh, good. They've got. I always like the red. I prefer the red
Okay.
to the black.
I see we got the like suplex tech stuff down there.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, well, should we make this for a title? What do you say? We got it. They got pretty much all of them in here.
Do they have the US one?
They do right
Yeah,
there.
let's do that.
All right.
Did we lose? Wait, did we lose someone?
Yeah, I think we did.
Did it
Maybe.
become a singles match by accident?
Yeah, try going back and see if you can be a wrestler in that. If not, then we'll just take off the title. Oh, it's just not letting you do it.
No.
That's
Weird.
fine. Non-title match. Okay, you should be able
Okay.
to jump back in now.
Well, he's got 2P. There's no 3.
Oh,
there we
three's
go.
over here, that's
there we
why.
go. Is second like manager?
Yes,
Okay,
that makes
gotcha.
it just your manager outside the ring.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All good?
Yeah, I think so. I'll just
Spike Dome?
Yeah, we'll go with Spike Dome. We'll go with red shoes.
And that is actual red shoes. That's not
That
like
is
a
actual red
downloaded
shoes,
character?
yep.
Awesome.
Licensed red shoes.
Yep.
Great. Great.
So Jack, how's your week been? How you been doing?
Mine's been a lot shorter than everyone else's.
Yeah?
In WWE. Yeah, it's been okay. I flew in just to do the 205 and SmackDown tapings, and I'll be flying out tomorrow.
Okay.
The NXT people have had a long week
Right.
of travel and shows.
So they had several shows up here just around the Northeast area leading
Yes.
up to TakeOver.
And then obviously TakeOver, and I believe they probably stayed for SummerSlam. I don't know if they'll have stayed for the Raw and SmackDown tapings, but yeah, I am one of the very rare, very well rested wrestlers you'll meet.
That's
Excellent.
that sounds all right.
It is pretty good. It's
Yeah.
nice to be able to think.
I cannot
bet.
imagine many people involved with TakeOver are well rested at this point because that was a show.
And then they have tapings on Thursday as well.
Oh, wow. So they've got like the 4 episodes they have to tape in Florida?
They'll be right back to it.
Oh, my God. Alex, did you see highlights of TakeOver?
I have definitely seen highlights of TakeOver,
You
and
too?
I did get a chance to catch the entire Kyrie Shayna match.
That was
which
my match tonight.
excellent.
That was so good. I love that one.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Shayna, actually. I think
She's
there's-
killing it.
there's
she
something really
has
to her.
has turned she has turned like the corner into like just owning that character like really quickly and in a really cool way.
Yeah.
The inevitable call up and then like feud with Ronda is going to be incredible,
God,
I'm
yes.
sure. Ronda just continuing the streak of just being like unbelievably surprisingly good at like every match she's been in.
A lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah, being there in New Orleans, that match she had it just blew the roof off the place.
Okay, where are you?
Where is?
Oh,
there we go. Okay,
I'm just hanging
I
out.
think
come in?
somehow this might have become a 2-on-1 handicap match.
That's great if we are against you.
No, I think
Okay,
I
he's
was
on
a-
my team.
I'll do my best
We're
then.
going against you.
All right.
Okay, so
I'm
real
AJ
quick,
Styles. He's good.
just going to run down the controls for you. So grapple is just get close to a dude and automatically does it. The timing for hitting the button press is any of the directional pads and one of these 3 buttons right before their hands touch.
Which 3?
The square, the X, and the circle.
Okay, so everything
And
but
that is
triangle.
weak, medium, strong.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Want to start out with weak because you'll get more reversals if you try going strong attacks early on.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Cool.
What's
All right.
triangle?
Triangle is like throw them into the ropes or run yourself.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
All right. I've
we go.
got this.
All right. So, Jack, while you're waiting here, talk a little bit about like how you got into wrestling to begin with. You obviously wrestle a very British style of wrestling, which is maybe not something that like a ton of U.S. fans were super familiar with before folks like yourself started becoming more popular.
That's
Like, talk a
true.
little bit about your origins and like kind of what inspired you to get into wrestling.
So I wish I had the on a dark moonlit night
Yes.
lightning once hit me and told me I should be a wrestler. It was very simply I was watching wrestling and thought, this is you watch it as a kid and I think everyone maybe goes through the phase of I kind of fell out of it for a little bit, and I think there's then if you get back into wrestling you probably become the super fan.
Right.
So I was in that phase of I was just getting back into wrestling, and on WWE at that time they were sort of making a big point about all this hard training these guys had gone through, and it started talking about wrestling schools, and it was the first time I became aware of like, oh, people must train to do this.
Right.
Like it probably seems very silly, but up to that point, it's just one of those. Oh, you're just a wrestler. You're probably
Right.
the son of a wrestler, or a cousin
Yeah.
of a wrestler, and you become a wrestler. So I just sought out a training school, which was Future Shock Wrestling in Manchester, where I first began to train, and then later I went to the Snake Pit Gym in Wigan, which is a primarily sort of catch as catch can submission
Right.
based sort of gym, which was ran by Roy Wood, who is one of the sort of last guys from that very old school
Like
catch
sort of
wrestling.
the World of Sport era.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're familiar with Billy Robinson's probably the most famous person to come from that
I think
gym.
he's one of the few names from that era that I've at least heard of.
So Billy and Carl Gotch, who the inventor of the German suplex.
Also, the Gotch style pile driver,
And the Gotch
which
style pile
Minoru
driver.
Suzuki makes good use of these days.
So those are the most famous names to sort of come from the Snake Pit Gym, and Roy was sort of one of the last people trained at the Snake Pit Gym. So I trained with him, and honestly, it was just being around Britain and Europe for an extensive part of my career, and then I spent around 9 to 10 months living in Tokyo,
Okay.
and training and wrestling was 0-1 in Tokyo.
Was that Hashimoto's promotion?
It was Hashimoto's
Okay.
promotion, yeah. His son was competing there when I was there.
Okay.
Hashimoto's obviously, unfortunately, passed.
Yes.
And that was where I first met and wrestled Masato Tanaka,
Oh, wow.
which was quite cool.
Of FMW and ECW fame.
Yes, and he's fast and crazy athletic. You think he would be very beat up and worn
Right.
down at this point. No, not at all. He lives up to that bullet name. quite a
Especially
bit.
after all the years of garbage wrestling and the various light tubes that he has taken, you would think maybe a
He's-
little bit of slowdown.
He's the first person I met with that Abdullah the Butcher sort of forehead
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. He's a wonderful wrestler. So yeah, that's basically my career prior WWE.
Okay.
It's a very, very European heavy in terms of what I was wrestling as, but then I had the excursion to Japan myself.
And so you watched a lot of WWE growing up? Like,
I-
were you getting that, and did Raw come to England?
Yeah,
Jack, I'm going to tag you in.
okay. Wonderful.
All right. And then I think square toward the ropes is how you get in.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Wow, they've got the whole bullets up top and everything.
So when I was growing up, Raw, I would never watch Raw or SmackDown when it was airing. I would watch them on Fridays when they would be repeated. 'Cause
Right.
Okay.
It would go on so late at night that I wouldn't be able to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning as a
Yeah.
kid.
Did you have the USA Network, or was it on something else?
It was on Sky Sports in England. I
Right.
believe it's still on Sky Sports in England.
Yeah, there's no USA Network in the UK.
They just call it UK.
Like the American imperialism has definitely reached to other places, but that network has not found its way to other countries yet. I don't think.
So the first episode of Raw I ended up watching was the one where Mick Foley won his first ever WWF title.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's a big one to watch.
It's a very good episode. So it was my sister's friends who were saying, "Oh, you should watch this thing. Like you should watch this wrestling stuff. It's really cool." So basically, throughout the night, we were watching it, and they were explaining to me, "This is who this person is. This is why we like him or dislike him."
Gotcha.
And gave me context for the whole show. And then Mankind wins the championship at the end of the night, and I was like, "Oh, I was in. I was hooked at that point." So it's this very strange symmetry for me that. How many years? 10 years later, Mick Foley is the general manager of Raw and tweets about me after the Cruiserweight Classic and is like, "I want you on Raw." And I was like, what is my life at this moment?
Well, wasn't that the famous That'll Put Butts in Seats night with Tony Schiavone?
That is
it
the
was
one.
pre-taped? Yeah, that's
They were
right.
like, "Oh, you can tune into the other channel," and everyone did.
And that was the turning point, right? Like Nitro never got the momentum back.
No, not at all. That was the real big turning point. So I never really was a WCW or ECW guy.
Right.
I've gone back and looked at that stuff now, but watching WCW completely out of the period is
It's hard.
Some of it holds up, but a lot of it is like the undercard stuff. Like it's the cruiserweights, it's some of the mid card guys, but like a lot of that main event stuff, even like from the era that is supposedly like the best, most exciting WCW stuff, kind of garbage.
it's Buff Bagwell's mum in a pole match though.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, no, that is the pinnacle of the sport, as we all agree.
It holds up.
That is Dave Russo.
God.
I was at the triple cage match between Jeff Jarrett, Diamond Dallas Page, and David Arquette. So I saw David Arquette as world champion in Kansas City.
I think I was in the audience for the WCW pay-per-view where David Flair turned on his dad.
Oh, yikes.
Because they were that deep into that storyline that they had to have the heel turn for Ric Flair's son.
Wow.
They tried with David Flair.
They tried a lot with a lot of things. Very few of them worked.
Yes, they did.
He still goes to Mania. I've seen David Flair at Mania a couple times.
Doesn't
Just
seem like he's
walking
trying to
around.
work much, though, these days.
No,
He's just
just-
kind of happy to be there.
See him walking around Bourbon Street or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
I mean, whose autograph would you rather get at this point, David Flair or Virgil?
oh boy, you know what? I'll go with David Flair.
Okay.
Virgil can do a Canadian Destroyer though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, can he?
Oh, YouTube that.
Wait, I need to see that.
Please YouTube this.
I am fascinated by the very idea of this.
Virgil does a Canadian Destroyer on YouTube. Yeah, it's
Does he do the Canadian Destroyer, or does the person he's working with do 95% of the Canadian Destroyer for him?
Virgil performs
Okay.
a Canadian Destroyer,
Okay.
and I don't know who is buying that Virgil's doing any of the work.
Right. Virgil.
God,
Virgil is.
God bless the person he was
Yeah.
working with.
Last time I saw him was in Orlando. He was standing in a parking lot by himself eating a snow cone.
L1 is if you want to tag me back in.
Okay.
What does that one do for me? It gives me this little stance here.
So this is this is also your recharge. Like if your character is starting to look out of breath, that sort of recharges your stamina.
Okay, gotcha. Now, Jack, when we first met, it was in Orlando a couple WrestleManias ago.
Yes.
You had recently moved there. Are you still living down there?
I am still living in Orlando. We've talked about moving, but it's the difficulty of I don't have like a place I definitely want to move to. New York is sort of on the list, but it's that thing of I only ever visit cities. Like
Right.
I don't get to stay for a very extended period anywhere.
Right.
But yeah, Orlando has been a very interesting. I remember we discussed this. It's an interesting introduction to American culture.
I
Florida
believe
in
that.
general is
Yes.
it is an intense distillation of a definitely an aspect of America, but it is intense.
So I remember the first week my wife Rebecca moved to Orlando with me because I was here for a few months before she moved over, and within that week of her being there, a man shot his pregnant girlfriend in the face, and then shot a police officer, and then an Amber Alert went out for a child being abducted, and then a monster alligator was on the loose. And she texts me, "Where have you taken me?"
I mean, that's a fair question.
Yeah, that all checks out with Florida. I believe all of it.
I did it.
So, have you gotten used to it, or is it still just this very odd place to live?
It's an odd place to live, and definitely full of the worst drivers in existence.
Oh, really?
If people from Florida would say Orlando is the worst for driving.
Okay.
It's terrible. But I've kind of found like my group of I have my social circle that's outside of my job now. I have my routines. I know where to go. Like I have my cool off areas.
You got
So
a feel for it.
I have my normal places to go. And I have an annual pass to Universal, so I can just go to Harry Potter World and go, England. Oh, thank God.
It's exactly the same, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. We're all wizards.
Have you been to Typhoon Lagoon? I went there while I was in Orlando.
No,
The
I
water
don't
park?
know.
Great water park.
The problem with the water park is I have to unshield my paper white skin to the sun.
Right.
Yeah, I know a little about that.
Yeah, it's a tough life.
Yeah.
People will never know. People never truly understand.
Do you find yourself utilizing the performance center often, or is that a thing where just like anybody that's working for WWE just has access to that all the time?
Yes. But the thing is, I train at a gym called The Jungle, which is an MMA gym. And Seth Petrozelli, kind of famous for knocking out Kimbo Slice, if you guys know who that
right.
I do remember that, yes.
So he's the guy that derailed the hype train of Kimbo Slice.
Someone had to do it.
It wasn't a very good fight for Kimbo.
Yeah.
So Seth was working at the Performance Center because he's a professional wrestler now as well, and he was working with some of the guys there on just doing striking and making things look a bit more legitimate in how they move. So I was like, I want to keep training while I'm out here. So I started going to his gym. And his gym is significantly closer to my house than the PC. So I end up doing most of my work there.
Okay.
So I work out there and train there for the most part. But at any point, I can go down to the PC and work out. Or there's so many rings there, I'm sure I could probably get a ring to myself and just have a play. When Johnny Saint came, though, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Johnny Saint, the British wrestler.
Other than the name, I don't know much about him.
Okay, so the British style that everyone associates kind of with me or with.
I'm going to make
England.
this like an 8-wrestler battle royale, so I'm just going to throw some other TV guys in there.
So the British style that everyone sort of associates with like Zack Sabre Jr. and myself, we call it like an escapology style of wrestling, just escaping from holds.
Right.
In a very theatrical way. Johnny Saint is perhaps the most famous person for doing it.
Okay.
And is one of the best guys for doing it. And I liberally have taken from his routine.
Okay.
So they had brought him over to work with some of the cruiserweights and work with the guys there to show them like, hey, this is a completely different style. Johnny's from a completely different era of wrestling. He'll just show you some stuff. And the whole cruiserweight division went, Johnny Saint's here. So we all congregated on the Performance Center in one day, just grabbed him and was like, Johnny, show us some stuff. And like brought him into a ring and like had him for about 2 hours to ourselves, which was wonderful because there's still stuff I haven't had the opportunity to use. But he was backstage at one of the shows when I did a lot of his signature stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Just on purpose because I knew he was watching. And I came backstage, and he was like, I expect a check in the mail next week. I was like, all right, Johnny.
It seems like the whole operation down there at the PC, just as a fan seeing from the outside, just the amount of rings and the trainers, it's still it's Albert and Sarah Del Rey, right? It's kind of like the head trainers there.
Yes.
Just seems tremendous what they're doing down there. And I think it shows in the NXT product, for sure.
That they're as well refining it as well. So how the whole process works for people arriving has changed even from when I first arrived, and I think it's for the better. So it's also a really good sign that they're not happy that they're just getting good results on the shows now as well. They're like, we can still find better ways of improving like our methodology of getting people from here to here.
Right.
So yeah, it's produced people like Velveteen Dream and all these people who haven't necessarily been in professional wrestling before have now adapted very well to professional wrestling. So I think it's a very good example of like their improving process.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, this is just an 8-person battle royale. I think pins and submissions are on.
Okay.
You are Yuji Nagata.
I am indeed.
All right.
HBK.
And I am my boy Tomohiro Ishii.
Great.
Ooh.
All right, let's do it.
So yeah, like 205 Live is like largely made up of folks from the Cruiserweight Classic that had spent considerable time on the indies. Right?
Yes.
And whereas like NXT is this weird mix of like XTNA talent and veterans and people that are brand new, like 22, 23-year-olds that are learning the ropes. That seems more of like a mix, whereas like 205 Live is mostly veterans, right? That came in from elsewhere.
It feels very strange to say veteran.
I mean, you've been doing it forever.
I've been doing it for quite a while.
You started when you were 16.
My first match was when I was 16. Yes. So I did that. I did the math of like, oh, when I'm 33, I will have been a professional wrestler for more than half my life.
Jeez.
I think it's a European thing. A lot of us tend to start very young. This is madness. I'm glad I picked the blue gear.
Yeah, no, he stands out a little bit.
So I think nearly everyone on 205 Live, bar some of the more recent people such as Buddy Murphy and Leo Rush, everyone's been wrestling for nearly 10 years or over.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing is the new NXT sort of, we call them NXT call-ups, but I guess they're not really call-ups, they sort of just move laterally.
Right.
Leo and Buddy are kind of the least experienced people on the roster, and they're still good at what they do, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're also in a weird bubble as well. The Cruiserweights are a strange show, and I think we're still trying to figure out the tone of the show. I think that's kind of shown, it's changed a lot over the last year.
Yeah.
Yesterday was or maybe it's today, was the year anniversary of going to Barclays and them throwing a lot of beach balls during our matches.
I texted you it was the Raw after Mania, I think in Orlando.
Yes.
I think it was a Mustafa Ali match against Neville.
Yes.
And that's when all the beach balls were happening, and it was pissing me off, and we're texting you, and has that been toned down? I feel like we didn't see as much of it over the SummerSlam weekend, but I hate that.
The crowd was definitely toned down. None of that stuff seemed to happen like to that extent this time around. I think they're probably coming down on it a bit harder.
Yeah.
I think as well, like, it was probably a novelty the first time it happened, and then people were like, okay guys, like we need to calm down. You know, this needs to be a good atmosphere for people. It's always a tricky situation as well for like I was saying about the development of 205. We were in a spot last year of, okay, we went into the Barclays after TakeOver, and then the pay-per-view, and then Raw, and then SmackDown, and now you're going to watch guys who perhaps you're not very familiar with. It's going to be a difficult sell.
Right.
So this year we were like, oh god, we're in the same building. It's the year anniversary of the bloody beach balls. And this year, you know, yesterday I think the Lucha House Party, Buddy and Tony Nese put on like a hell of a match.
That main event was incredible.
A hell of a match, and it got people standing up and chanting, "This is awesome!" And we were like, after 14 hours of wrestling, that's like a feat.
Yeah.
But as well, it does speak to the fact that people are willing to give it a chance. Willing to like, no, we're going to sit down, like, if this is good, we will appreciate the fact it's good. So it's helping us now as well.
Do you feel like it helped, because they were doing the thing for a while on Raw, where it was the Purple Robes, where you'd bring in for this like one standalone little match, or maybe two matches a show, without the greater context of the hour-long 205 Live show. Do you think it helped that now it's very much its own thing without these like weird standalone things in the middle of Raw?
I think it does help a lot. So the Purple Ropes were an interesting thing because there was a debate, I believe, about whether they should do it or whether they shouldn't do it, and they said, well, we want to create the impression of a tonal shift, which, you know, you can appreciate. Like, we want to say, hey, this is a bit more sporting, a bit more competitive style of wrestling, and we want to change the look to indicate that to the fans. But the problem is, we said, well, the thing is, you don't change the ropes when the women compete, and you don't change the ropes when the tag teams compete, which are two different divisions.
Right.
So by putting the ropes purple, all you're actually indicating to the fans are, these aren't like the people you pay to see.
Right.
So it became a sort of disconnect. So it was a very good idea, and it's one I really liked, but on Raw, when the purple ropes went away, it actually helped us.
Right.
And now that 205 has its own look and we have our own, you know, thing to ourselves, it's definitely helped us a lot more.
Right. I bet the crew likes it a lot too, because I remember seeing a lot of
Oh
live
my
shows.
God.
You know, like, especially when there were like two different matches, and just seeing like 6 people run up with all that tape and go around the ropes and everything.
No, they're the unsung heroes of WWE.
The ring crew.
Oh my god, that crew works so hard to put that show on. They turn up so early and leave so late, and nearly, you know, everything basically goes off without a flaw. You know, you don't realize how good the crew is because the crew's so good at their job.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're like referees. If a referee's doing a good job, you never notice him.
Yep.
The crew is amazing.
Ever since I was a kid, I always liked watching, like sticking around after the main event went up there. You know, you see the signature, you know that it's not on TV anymore.
Yeah.
And the second you see the signature, you see the crew tearing down the Titantron, getting the ring torn down. Like they waste no time at all.
They
It's
are
fascinating to watch
machine.
that.
And that's the thing as well. I had never been to a live WWE event until I was employed.
Oh wow.
I'd never wrestled in America until I was employed by WWE. So when I turned up at my first ever Raw, I believe it was Memphis, and saw the amount of people that it takes to just put on one show,
Yeah.
I was amazed. Like, and it is such an army of you're gonna go here, you're gonna go here, and they have slightly different crews every week, but there's a core group of people that make sure everything works out.
And especially now, so many like positions have been added. Like there are numerous like people that just do like, oh, you're doing the Instagram story, you're doing the Facebook stuff.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
social media guys.
Yeah, like the promos that you only see like on .com or whatever. There's so much more happening backstage than ever.
Yeah, and it's fun as well because it means that like the .com and the online stuff is significantly different from the stuff you're going to get on TV and the stuff that gets through the
Yes.
TV filter.
Right.
So, did I ever mention the Papa Shango thing to you? This was
Oh, this sounds familiar. Yes.
okay. So
I haven't heard this one.
So this never got didn't get through .com with the social media people, but it was pitched. And that was when we were crowning a new cruiserweight champion in Narlands this Mania just gone. I had suggested, well, there's kind of a joke that the cruiserweight title's cursed. So why don't we do a skit where the whole division takes the championship belt to a voodoo priest to lift the curse before the new champion's crowned? And then I said, well, why don't we get Papa Shango? Actually, no, I think at first I said to Xavier Woods, hey, you guys have dressed up as Papa Shango before, the New Day. Which one of you did it? He said, well, I was Papa Shango. I said, would you mind dressing up as Papa Shango for us? He said, you could probably just get Papa Shango.
I mean, you probably could.
You probably
right?
could.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we couldn't just get Papa Shango. That was actually the turning point. But it was pitched to be like, we'll go see Papa Shango. We'll do a bit of theatrics. He will quote unquote lift the curse from the title. And then when we all file out going, oh, okay, so everything's going to look up, the punchline of the skit was going to be, there was going to be a pause, and then Drake Maverick, the new general manager, was going to tiptoe from the back of the voodoo shop and go, did they buy it? And Papa Shango was going to go, oh, yeah. And then Drake was going to slide him like a 20 across the table and leave.
That's actually... That would have been a really good bit.
It would have been good. It would never would have made it on television, but the .com people were like, we're going to price up the budget for getting you a place to do this and doing Papa Shango's like makeup and all this. And it literally just came down to, it's a funny bit, but we don't know if it's worth the budget to put it on.
Yeah.
And we were like, I can understand.
Isn't that always the way?
Always the way.
Well, some of that online stuff is so weird and has room to breathe. Like, I just watched something for the first time that New Day did back in like March, around the time of the Mixed Match Challenge.
Yes.
Have you seen this Peck dance party thing they did?
Yes.
Oh my god, we just watched it for the first time a couple days ago. It's one of the weirdest, funniest things I've seen come out. And like, I think those guys are fucking hilarious.
They are very
And this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen them do. It goes on like 6 minutes too long, but it does the whole cycle of like being funny again.
But
Yeah.
that's the beauty of the .com stuff, right?
Yes.
Is that you have that leg room. You can kind of let the bits, breathe as they need to.
Yes. And New Day actually, after winning they won the SmackDown tag titles last night, and they did this long bit again that was only on .com or Facebook or something, and it was them being hilarious again backstage. Like, I love that stuff just so dudes like New Day can do things that, like, again, they would never make it to the main roster or like the main program.
Also, if you ever end up doing that bit again, maybe the actual way to do it is to say you're going to get a voodoo priest to do it, but then have him come out as Kama.
Oh my god.
Like, don't even acknowledge that he's not
gonna
dressed
melt
as
down the
Papa
belt.
Shango.
He's
Like,
gonna melt the belt
as
and make a
Kama or
necklace
the
out of it.
Godfather or whatever.
So my last ditch effort was to investigate getting just an actual voodoo doctor to do it, and it was, I think I've just been submitted. Oh no! So Bray Wyatt warned me against it because he's like, no, like, you want to do this theatrically. He's like, he's done some work with them on a previous entrance, having sort of like voodoo people with him.
Right.
and he said they are 100% into what they believe.
Right.
And they will not take very kindly to you guys trying to make a comedy skit out of this.
Yeah, they're not looking to do a jokey version of the thing they legitimately practice.
Yeah, so that was the unfortunate, like, okay, this is going to go on the back burner. This will end up in a book someday, I guess, when I talk about it.
Great idea.
Well, and, in general, I think the curse has been lifted at this point.
It seems to be doing well, yeah.
Like you said, the beach balls have been banished, and things seem to have hit a normalized place where everyone seems pretty happy with the product.
And viewership's going up very consistently as well, which
That's
has
awesome.
been wonderful for us.
Now,
Triple German from Shawn Michaels
Yeah,
on Kane.
yes, as he's known to do. Yeah, I took a lapsed fan, my friend Annabelle, to the Madison Square Garden show, which, you worked at Garden Show.
Yes, I was.
Yep, and so he had not seen anything since, like, Attitude Era. That you see that a lot, fans who hadn't seen anything since then.
Of course.
And I asked him afterwards, like, oh, what was your favorite match? And he was like, Cedric Alexander. Like, he was amazing. Love that Cruiserweight stuff. So good.
They're starting to find that right tone, I believe, now of fitting onto shows with people from Raw and SmackDown, but also having its own individual sort of style. It's not NXT, it's not Raw. It's Cruiserweights are kind of getting a style to themselves now, which is nice.
And a lot of longer matches, too. Like watching last night's show, just that main event went like 17, 18 minutes, something like that.
A while, yeah.
Yeah.
A little while. And that's the difficulty of live television as opposed to, say, network programming is we have a bit more leeway, but ultimately, like, there's only so many minutes in any television show, and there's so many people employed by the WWE, so many good people.
Yeah.
You ultimately, someone's always going to get shortchanged.
Yeah.
So when we were on Raw, it was always, there's going to be the main event guys, then we'll probably have another, a singles angle for the men, and then maybe one or two for the women, and then maybe one or two for the tag teams, and then there's the cruiserweights. Oh, if the cruiserweights get two, okay, you've got to take away from the tag division. Then people complain that the tag belts aren't being represented well because there's no tag teams being built. You take away from the women. Oh, how come the women are being underrepresented now? Like, it's a balancing act. You never win.
Yeah, you see that all the time back on Nitro, where it's like, do we need 7 NWO segments? I mean, you've got like Guerrero and Jericho and Malenko and all these guys. We want more time with them.
And that the funny thing is, we have gone back and rewatched WCW. Like, we're still fans of the product and stuff. So we were traveling once, and we ended up staying at Mustafa Ali's house because we're in Chicago, and we were like, oh, let's just stay up and watch the network. Let's just put on a random WCW pay-per-view.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's good. And the opening match with Glacier and Ernest the Cat Miller, tag team against Wrath and Mortis.
Oh, boy.
Oh, so like just height of the blood runs cold stuff.
This is them going full Mortal Kombat with that stuff.
That was as an underappreciated classic.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I believe later on maybe the same show, maybe another show we watched was Ultimo Dragon versus Chris Jericho. And we were like, oh, what? Like, this is a good match. Like, but this is before Jericho has become Jericho, and Ultimo Dragon isn't like the evil bad, the real bad guy he will become in WCW.
Right.
So midway through, it just cuts backstage to Hulk Hogan's arriving at the show, like in the middle of their match.
Yes, and then Tony Schiavone just screaming about, just like, oh, Hulk Hogan's here.
And it's shown on the Tron or whatever, so all the fans are reacting to Hogan and not watching the match. It cuts back to the cruiserweights, and then people start chanting, "We want Sting." So we as the now cruiserweight division who hear you guys aren't as good as the WCW guys, we're like, oh, it happened to them too. Oh,
Yep.
thank God.
Oh no! At the time, people treated those guys like absolute garbage. Like there were obviously fans. You can watch, and when you're watching the shows, you can see the ones that are like super into it.
Yeah.
But there are also just tons of people who are like milling around while Rey Mysterio is doing like the most incredible shit you've ever seen in your life.
They would also bury him with, like, Scott Steiner would come down and like double clothesline 20 cruiserweights and then put 20 of them in the Steiner recliner. Just making them look like chumps.
Like here come 9 NWO members just to throw Super Callow around the arena.
Yes.
And I mean, he would have broken his neck on his own anyway, but like here's Scott Norton to do it for him.
Yes.
So the first week or first few weeks we turned up at Raw, Braun Strowman, like we all filed in nice and early. Braun Strowman arrived at the locker room and went, "Oh, you boys are the reason the internet hates me." And we went,
"Oh no!"
We went, what do you mean? He went, "Everyone's expecting me to kill all of you." And he just walks out the room, and we went, "Oh, I guess that means he's not killing us. Thank God."
Yeah, not this time. Well, should we maybe go anime? What do you think? Is it time to go full
It's
anime?
always time to go anime.
All right.
Yes.
Well, Abby, I think we're going to switch games here. Like I said, we'll have more with Fire Pro Wrestling for the PS4 in the official Quick Look next week. They have not actually put up the thing that lets you upload wrestlers in the US version.
Oh, okay.
So, like, once that goes live, we're going to check it out. But until then, I figured we should wait. So, yeah, look for that later.
Cool.
But for now, all right. So you watched this show?
I watched the show and I have read the original comic books as well.
Okay. So this is the show that came out around 2002, 2003. It was on Fox Kids in the U.S. I don't know what it was elsewhere. But
I think it was Cartoon Network in England.
okay. And this was the reboot of the original Ultimate Muscle stuff from I don't know if there was ever a U.S. version of that stuff here. I think that only came out in Japan.
I don't believe so. The original Kinnikuman Man series.
Yes. So this was like their sort of Nexus versus veteran storyline of new guys coming in and also the old guys still being
Old
there.
generation, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, since you wanted to play this, I think we'll have you grab one of these controllers.
So I'll grab it.
Yeah, and I'll grab one for now, and then
Go
Danny
for it.
can jump in as well.
So this is the thing. The reason I specifically asked for this is full disclosure. These games are hard to get in Europe. They were difficult. Fire Pro was difficult to get hold of.
Fire Pro was difficult to get a hold of anywhere that wasn't Japan.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So we would. I had to start importing like Italian versions of Fire Pro Wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And then I would have to put like a special memory card that would break the region that would allow me to like have an unregion locked version of the game in my PlayStation.
yeah.
That was the only way I could play Fire Pro. These would damn near unobtainable.
Yeah,
for
I'm
me.
pretty sure this game only came out in the US and Japan.
So that was the other reason I wanted to play this, was like I've never played one of these games.
I haven't either. I'm looking forward to this.
So these are basically just the Aki engine. Like these were developed by Aki post their THQ days. They made this and the Def Jam games around the same time.
Oh wow.
I remember I went to a Bandai Namco event at E3, and it was the head dude from Aki, and he was there promoting this thing. I remember I walked up to him at the end. I was just like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I was a big fan of your guys' games. I really love Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and all that stuff." And he kind of looked at the translator and he was like, "Did he just say Virtual Pro Wrestling?" Because those games never came out in the US. He's like, I don't think he was very accustomed to American players knowing anything that wasn't WCW or WWF related.
Oh, naturally, yeah.
Yeah, so he was very excited about that, and then they went on to make fashion games for the DS. Hey, I hear those games were pretty good.
The
for what they
natural
are.
progression of things.
Yes, indeed, but they are a very different studio these days.
I remember when I interviewed AJ Styles, I heard he was a big fan of the N64 wrestling game. So I went in expecting to talk to him about like No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 and Revenge, and he starts bringing up Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which I had never played that stuff. So it's like, okay, you're talking the league beyond me here. I had never.
And I
played
think that
those.
one had they had the All Japan license at the time, but they didn't have any of the other ones. So it was the Fire Pro style of here's a bunch of guys that are basically the dudes you know from Japan, but not officially. But they had all the All Japan guys right before they all went to Noah.
Oh wow, just before the split.
Yes, it was just before the split. So they had like the Misawa and like Kobashi licenses and everything, and then like within a few months, I think, of that game coming out, they were all out of there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hey, was that guy's name Dick Van Dick?
Yes.
Yes.
Dick Van Dick.
Wanted to double check on that. All right.
So that is why you should watch the English translation of this TV show. They changed a lot of things for American audiences. So Dick Van Dyke's original name is Gazelle Man.
Okay.
And he looks like a gazelle, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for some reason they chose a Dick Van Dyke pun to double down on. Not sure why. He's not English.
No.
He doesn't have like a fake Cockney accent or anything like that.
Well, we got a mask versus mask match here. Robin Mask versus Kevin Mask, who I believe are related in the series.
Father and son. So
Yes.
Kevin Mask obviously is Kevin Nash.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The DMP is the Demon Making Plant, which is the NWO equivalent in this
Okay,
universe.
You already know way more about
is
this shit than I do.
amazing.
I
Oh.
watched a few episodes of this show.
when
but
I
that's
said
about
I
it.
liked this show, I am
Yeah.
all in on this
That's
show.
like Super Shredder Kevin Nash.
It
Yeah.
kind of is.
Oh my God.
So he doesn't have like Kevin Nash's moveset or anything like that. But all of these wrestlers were based on people of a certain generation. So like Robin Mask is based on Billy Robinson. So he's an English professional wrestler who specializes in submissions. And Kinnikuman Man, who's the main guy of the original series, is based off Antonio Inoki.
Okay.
So that's the sort of generations you're working with. So the original generation was all 80s wrestlers, 70s and 80s style wrestlers. And then you got the next generation, which was all Kid Muscle, who was
Right.
supposed to be the 90s, early 2000s generation wrestler.
Okay.
And they're all parodied terribly.
Who was the guy that looked like a big piece of Chex Mix?
He's like sort of the big bad of the series. Like
Okay.
he
Yeah.
looks like a giant like puzzle block or something.
Okay.
So he was like the big bad in the original series, and then they brought him back as like the evil trainer of the new generation of guys.
Okay.
So he's the guy that trains the DMP, I believe. He's called
Gotcha.
Oh,
Sunshine.
So I think A is strike, Y is the grapple button.
Okay.
And I think it is similar to the weak strong grapple of the main stuff. And then I'm not sure like what like this. One of them seems like a jump button.
Oh yeah, that one. There we go.
I think they're
think I'm-
jumping attacks. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what it
wow.
is. So yeah, I can jump up in the air and I can do that. And then there's like this dash button.
So for as thin as the storylines were in this comic book series, the moves were just truly like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's full animated out wrestling. And I believe this is where the Muscle Buster comes from.
Really?
Yes, the main dude does the muscle buster as a move, I believe.
Now, was that used widely before Joe?
It was used in Japan primarily,
Yeah.
and not very widely known, I don't believe. But I believe its origins is in this show.
Okay.
Because the main character is called.
Feather on the ground. I don't know what that's for.
Is
that a power-up?
I hope it's a Tanuki thing. Yes, I'm not winning because of it.
I don't remember how you do the specials. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, it's that stuff. So this is ridiculous. So Kinnikuman Man translates to Muscle Man, which is why it's the Muscle Buster.
Okay. Yeah.
It's you should watch the Ultimate Muscle Show. It's not great, but it's hilarious for how bad it is. The
Well-
translation and everything.
I did not know that it was directly based on real wrestlers, and seeing like this obvious ass NWO logo and stuff,
Yep.
I am very, very
But
interested.
it
in
is
watching
it is
this now.
extremely cartoonish and like you said, like I would not call it a good show, but it can be a very entertaining show.
Okay.
So like Terry Man, who's based on Terry Funk, does a spinning toe hold, but he doesn't do like a spinning toe hold like Terry Funk does it. He spins around at like 100 miles an hour, performing it, over and over and over and over again, just on the
I'm
spot.
just gonna look at the command list real quick, so I just want to make sure I know how to do the special if I can do it.
How many times has Terry Man retired?
Oh, that's an interesting question, actually. Yeah, probably once every decade, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, for the last 7 decades.
Okay, great.
I think he can get out of bed though.
Okay.
He still has that ability.
That's the thing.
Good,
Like the
good.
dude who's based on Terry Funk is like a very handsome blonde young guy.
Oh,
Does
okay.
not look anything like Terry Funk.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think they were like, we'll get sued if we just straight up rip off everyone.
There's no Beyond the Mat for Muscle.
Oh my god. Beyond the Muscle.
Oh.
All right, so it's
That's
L.
pretty
It looks like it's L and specific buttons is how you do the
Oh, okay.
special, and you have to have your power level up just because it's anime. You have to have your power level at various things. So it looks like R and L at the same time would do it once I have all three.
As promised, I'm going to pee. I'll be right back.
All
Does
right,
anybody
here it
need
is.
anything?
I'm good.
I'm
all good?
Thank you.
Excellent. We're playing anime over here. So how long did you end up spending in Japan when you went?
Around 9.5 to 10 months.
Okay.
So I ended up from about January. I moved there, so I experienced both the blistering cold and the sweltering heat of Tokyo. Which
Okay.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was there. The only time I've been to Japan was like in September, so it was like right as the summer was ending.
Okay.
It eventually became nice. The first couple of days I was there, though, it was rough.
Yeah, the summer's rough, and we would do outdoor shows as well.
Right.
And like there was kind of like a prank you would play on people, where you would lock up and shove them into the corner, because Japan has the very big corner posts, like
Right.
boxing things. They would be red hot.
Oh.
So you just lock up and just force the other person
Oh,
slowly
God, that
into
just sounds
it.
awful. I
Oh,
could just feel like the flesh sizzling.
It was
Like
the
it
worst.
just sounds bad.
It is the worst. You just get submissions like the first few moments of a match. So yeah, I stayed in Tokyo. I lived down the road from the Pokemon store in Tokyo.
Oh, right on.
Basically, so I was right in the heart of it. And yeah, I ended up staying with Zero One, training with them. I ended up working for Big Japan numerous
Oh,
times.
yeah.
And
They're still kicking, right?
They
still
are,
do
yeah.
shows?
they have a really interesting divide of there is like serious wrestlers who just wear black trunks and black boots.
Right.
And then there is
Like the Jun Fasais of the world.
the
who are-
deathmatch guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was working for them, there was a very like expressed you're not allowed to put Jack in a death match or with a death match worker.
Right.
Just keep him away from the. Thankfully, like I never had any Glasgow in me or anything like that, but I've seen some death matches live.
Some fairly horrific shit happening.
And do you know what? It's one of those things where I don't know if I became numb to it, but I was watching it, I was like, okay, I kind of get this.
Yeah.
It's not for me, but I get the appeal of this at this point.
I watched a lot of deathmatch wrestling when I was kind of getting into the Japanese stuff. Like Hayabusa was very much my favorite dude from that era, and like I watched a lot of like Mr. Ganosuke and like Kodo Fuyuki and like all that stuff. And like the thing I compare it to, which I've seen some wrestlers say that seems very correct, and also that's horrible, is that deathmatch wrestling is very much like hardcore pornography. In the sense that the way the matches are paced and the way that the spots are built out, it has the flow of porn. But it's violence porn.
I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I can't say I've put it through that scope before.
I mean, look, there were a lot of things I watched when I was about 17, and those were a couple of them. So I saw the comparisons as I was watching it.
Right. That's something I'm not going to be able to unsee
That's
now.
fair.
Congratulations. I ended up being in Japan for about a year at that time. Worked for Japan. Worked for Atsushi Onita as well.
Oh, wow.
A few times. I got to second, not like second in terms of I was like his young boy. I was second in terms of I was at ringside when Aki Bono and Atsushi Onita had an exploding ring match.
Oh man, I forgot like Akebono did that weird era of like him doing like random pro wrestling matches.
Yeah, the WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
And this is after that.
Oh, wow.
So the WrestleMania match, I believe, was sort of his first foray into pro wrestling.
Wow.
So he was still wrestling out in Japan when I was over there. He was doing 0-1 and I think occasionally All Japan. So he wrestled Onita in an exploding ring match. And
Oh, here we go. Special move.
oh,
This is Terry Man.
All right. That's Terry Man?
yeah.
Yes.
All right. Oh, there we go.
Before that, he had to turn into an eagle before he could
like
do
Terry
the
Funk.
spinning toe hold.
Okay.
America.
Yeah.
So when this exploding ring match was happening, someone else who was on the show was Sabu.
Oh, wow.
So
And he somehow finds his way to those exploding ring matches. It's weird.
He was just sat at ringside during the. How do you want to have a go over this?
Sure.
So he was sat at ringside, and I have a distinct memory of the first time they hit the barbed wire. That side of the ring explodes. There's all the smoke, and then Sabu turns around with a manic grin on his face and goes, "He's still on fire." Because Akibono's singlet caught fire on the first explosion. So they're kind of like half putting him out to continue the match. And Sabu's just maniacally laughing at ringside. I was like, oh my God, he's a psychopath.
Well, I mean, clearly.
like clearly. But like, oh my God, like, yeah, he's a true crazy person.
I feel like one of the first things they should tell you before doing one of those exploding death matches is get a costume that has the minimum amount of fringe and other things that, like dangling off of it, because anything flammable, that's not going to be good.
Or the most in the case of the Inferno matches with like Kane and MVP. And
make
put
sure
some stuff
you-
underneath there.
Make sure you are covered up.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
I saw Sabu wrestle on Friday night.
Oh,
It
yeah?
was at Joey Janela show, and it was supposed to be Nick Gage against Haku,
And you
but
had,
Haku had to back out, and so there was going to be like a surprise competitor to fill in, and it was Sabu. Sandman appeared too out of nowhere. He wasn't booked at all.
He just does that. He just shows up from time to time.
It was a
He
pretty-
wasn't booked. He just said,
yeah, it was a pretty incredible show.
oh wow.
Yeah, it was one of those Joey Janela ones where it's just like, let's see who shows up here.
Just madness happens. Yeah.
Yep.
My first introduction to Joey was his appearance at Progress Wrestling last year in New York. That
Right.
You guys, came
yeah,
down
we
to
were
watch.
at that show.
You fought
yeah.
Jimmy Havoc, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
So, that was my first introduction to him, and him being monkey flipped while sat on a chair to then being still sat on a chair was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
I'm all in for silly things like that.
That was
Janela-
also the one with the tacks in the feet. Wasn't that the same match?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
my
my Lord.
God.
Janela seems like one of those dudes who seems very happy with where he's at. Like, he's carved this little niche for himself. He gets to do these weird shows with, like, he's basically just, like, going down a laundry list of all the Japanese superstars he would love to work a match against. And he seems, like, in a good place.
Yeah, I think there's more and more guys who are sort of realizing, okay, this is a niche thing I'm doing, but I'm
Right.
happy to just be in the niche I'm doing.
Yep.
I think a lot. The funny thing is, I think a lot of the cruiserweights were like that. Well, we were in like, oh, we're small guys, we're kind of a niche thing. Like,
Right.
We'll probably never be signed to WWE, and lo and behold, bloody 16 of us get contract. But yeah, Joey's another one of those guys he's found his thing.
Right.
Some people really like his thing.
They're fun shows. I went to his spring break show in New Orleans. I went to the one Friday, but I've been very happy with the shows he's put on. I'm working a show next month with PCO, which Janelle is kind of the one that has kind of brought him back into the limelight, so I'm looking forward to that.
I love the phrase "you're working a show" with someone.
I'm going to show up and get kicked in the head, probably.
I mean, look, he is a performer. He is, it's much more in the tradition of the Bobby's Heenan and the Jimmy's Hart of the world, but
yes.
I'm not saying he's on that
PCO.
level yet, but he is at least on the show. He's booked.
Me versus PCO.
You wearing Google Glass, getting punched in the face by Chris Masters, still sounds like a Mad Lib entry to me.
Yeah.
He's the reason I don't do the Google Glass anymore, because it doesn't work anymore. Because Chris Masters punched me in the face.
In the face.
I mean, of all the people to punch you in the face,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to win this match just by virtue of hitting strikes over and over again. The grapple button is a Y, by the way, if you want to use it.
Oh, I guess I could grapple, yeah. That's the way
Say
you
if
can
you
play
want to
these
use
games.
it. It's up to you.
Hey, whatever works. But Jack, we started talking. I don't know if I've ever told the story on the air, but it was this huge surprise to us because the Cruiserweight Classic happened.
So you're back in.
Thank you.
The Cruiserweight Classic happened, and it obviously put you in front of a bunch of American eyeballs who had not heard of you before. And then somebody tweeted at me being like, hey, do you know this guy in the Cruiserweight Classic follows like the whole Giant Bomb staff? I was like, what? And so I think our first, was it your like Reddit AMA? Was that our first time that we talked?
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, because somebody asked you something about Giant Bomb, and you responded, and then I responded to you being like, okay, well, if you're a Giant Bomb fan, are you with me or Jeff on Mario Sunshine? And you agreed with Jeff.
So that was the moment. The question was, what's your opinion on Mario Sunshine? I just said Jeff is correct.
That's right. That's right.
That's
what
like,
it was.
I remember as well because my friend was like, what does that mean? I was like, he'll get it. He'll understand.
Oh, I got it. I got it. Yeah. Oh, it's all right. It's all right.
But you know what? Jeff is correct.
Right.
We played through the entirety of Mario.
Oh, I know.
History has proven
I
him
know.
correct.
I'm very aware of the excursion of knowledge here. Of just like, did I just fall through a platform?
Oh, God. That is very uncharacteristic of any Mario title.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, it
is.
really-
It's almost as if it's not as good.
It's almost like if it's not a masterpiece.
I don't know. Everyone here out east loves Mario Sunshine now, so I think you're an outlier.
Oh, goodness.
That part did shake my confidence in that game. But
Shake.
it kind of rattled my world when I went through that platform.
Shake is like a bloody earthquake. That's a shake.
Still a very good game. Some would say a masterpiece.
I would not. Jeff would not. And apparently Jack would
No,
not.
not at all.
Do you at least call it a good game?
It's not a bad game.
Hey, that's
I'll
close.
grant that. Yeah.
It's not a bad game. No,
All right.
I wouldn't say I actively disliked playing it.
Okay, did you buy it back in the day?
I didn't. I think a friend of mine who had a GameCube, I would play it when I would go around to his. I didn't have many games for my GameCube, actually, thinking back on it.
There weren't. I mean, there were lots of games coming out just by virtue of the era that it was, but
Yes.
comparatively, the GameCube did not have as many games.
And as well, I ended up getting a GameCube after having a PlayStation 2. So anything that was coming out for the GameCube, I usually
went
had
PS2.
for the PlayStation 2 already.
Yeah.
So no, I ended up playing it at a friend. So no, I've not had the in-depth look that everyone here has had at the video game. I feel like reviewing it though through your guys' eyes. I think that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to play it in the year, 2017 now? Was that last year?
Was that last year or the year? I can't.
think-
Yeah, it was. No, it was last
It
year.
was last year.
Okay.
'Cause I wasn't
All right.
here the year before. It was
That's
last
right.
year.
I maybe have a more tempered opinion on it. I still love it, but I do see where some of the criticism comes from.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's an improvement.
Yeah,
But
no,
I'll
that's,
still
that's,
say-
that's progress.
I'll still say in 2003, that game was a revelation.
Oh, you got the ramen.
A revelation.
Yeah, a revelation.
In what respect?
In,
He had a water pack.
in the like biblical
not-
sense, or
The word you're using, I don't know if you're using it correctly.
yeah.
Since I
Did you
happen
mean
a lot of-
revulsion?
All right. Do you like Galaxy?
I do like Galaxy.
Okay.
Yes,
Did
I
you play
do.
Odyssey?
I did, yeah. So, thank you very much for hosting me for the Game of the Year lists.
Oh,
I was happy to have you.
I didn't have a Switch when that came out, So I now do own a Switch. I'm still getting through like my to-do list of 2017 games.
I mean, there were a lot, and this is a good year to catch up on those because there hasn't been quite as much this year.
Been a bit few and far between this year, but 2017 was so good for games. It's still good in 2018.
Yeah.
I just finished Mario Rabbids.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm not a completionist, but I've played everything in that game.
Oh wow.
Including the DLC?
I've played the DLC. I perfected everything in that game.
Jeez.
So I played every level, played every challenge that unlocks afterwards, played every ultra hard challenge, and then played the Donkey Kong thing.
I mean, I like that game, but damn, dude.
I liked that game.
Yeah.
So that I played Odyssey now as well. I finally played Bayonetta.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
I have
Great.
Bayonetta 2 currently in my Switch, so I'm going to get to that.
Bayonetta 2 is so good.
It's amazing.
So yeah, I'm kind of doing my 2017 catch up on the Switch, and I have a couple games left for the PlayStation. Like I'm playing Nioh right now.
Okay.
I'm loving that. I'm actually really enjoying that.
Do you like that sort of genre, like the kind of Soulsborne type stuff much? Or?
I've not played a lot of them. I played Bloodborne. I've never actually played Dark Souls or Demon Souls, any of that series. I ended up playing Bloodborne because people said that's the easy one, which is
They
a bit,
told me that too.
yeah, a bit misleading.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things of like probably for the first hour or so, it was just like I even knew going into it, I'm gonna die a bunch. But even a while, I was like, I feel like I can't do anything in this game.
It's a shame because I love the aesthetics of both like the Dark Souls stuff and the Bloodborne stuff. Like I like what the vibe they're going for with that stuff. I just don't like playing them.
So I persevered with Bloodborne and completed it. I persevered with Bloodborne and completed it. And I did enjoy it. Was one of those like I finished playing it and I was like, I'm really proud that I finished playing that.
Right.
I'm playing Nioh now, and I'm actually very enjoying playing Nioh because I think I think it's allowed me to maybe play in a style I want to play in a bit more. I feel like it's a little less punishing in the I see you.
Okay.
I think it's a little less punishing, and as well, like at least the encounters I've played so far, about maybe halfway through the game, I feel like I'm learning with every encounter a little better than I did maybe in Bloodborne. Whereas Bloodborne, it was just like, I'm going to pray before
Right.
every boss battle that this works out well for me. And maybe the experience with the Souls game has helped me as
Right.
well. And I'm getting a bit more into fighting games this year as well. So
What have you been playing?
I played a lot of UFC 3,
Okay.
which, yeah, it's not the hardcore game, but it was a thing played a lot backstage, so I had to get good at it.
Well, and I mean, as someone with MMA roots, I'm sure you're at the very least curious to see how that stuff is portrayed in games these days.
And it translates okay.
Yeah.
It's I actually think the kickboxing and stand-up aspect they've done is very good. So I've been playing a lot of that. I feel like I can say with some confidence I'm the best person in WWE at that game.
Oh.
Okay.
I feel quite confident in saying that. And I've just picked up Dragon Ball FighterZ.
That game is excellent.
It's very good.
And I say this as someone who has no affection whatsoever for Dragon Ball Z or any of that stuff. It is just a really well-made fighting game.
That game turned us into anime fans.
Yep.
I'm enjoying it thoroughly. I'm kind of still picking up the combo system a bit. Like I'm trying not to rely so much on the auto combos now.
Right.
But yeah, I have that waiting for me at home. I'm just making my way through the story mode to sort of figure it out. But yeah, that's the one. Maybe Tekken next. Might do Tekken second.
Well, I will just say, the invite is open if you would like to rejoin us for Game of the Year stuff again this year.
Thank you very much.
We are not particular about lists in terms of like rules, so if your list is mostly 2017 stuff this year, that's okay. We are okay with that.
Some good games have come out this year, definitely though.
Yeah, there's been some like Dragon Ball is a good one.
We got Red Dead coming out. We got Soul Calibur coming out.
Dead Cells is really
Dead
solid.
Cells is great.
I've just started playing that.
See, I've never played a lot of like Metroidvania games either.
Dead Cells is a good one for that because it's not like navigation is less complicated. I feel like compared to
Okay.
something like a Hollow Knight or whatnot.
Combat's a bit more highlighted in it.
Yes,
than
it's much more about like the
navigation.
loadouts and building and finding items and that kind of stuff.
It's very little about exploration. Like, it's good to do each level just to get all the upgrades, but being a roguelite, basically, it's not the same thing that you have to memorize. Like, you won't have to remember, like, oh, this is what the prisoner's grounds is laid out like, because it changes every time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, whereas, like, Hollow Knight, I just fell off of that, and it's because you do need to remember where everything is, and the map isn't, like, filling in. The whole map system is kind of bad, I think.
Yeah.
So, I did. It's well made, but I fell off.
But it's not
it.
your thing.
It's not my thing. No.
Yeah.
Dead Cells I love, but I almost even hesitate to call it like a Metroidvania because it is such a different thing.
Okay.
Due to how the levels and the map work, but I would.
It's the
highly
easy
recommend it.
go-to to say what it is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh, yeah,
it's,
totally, yeah,
it's definitely
yeah.
using elements from that genre, but it's not
100%.
focusing on some of the same things that a lot of those games tend to.
Okay.
Yeah, I just finished it over the weekend, and it's probably my second favorite game of the year so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on Switch. It has some performance issues on Switch.
Like frame rate and stuff?
Yeah, especially in later levels when things start to get really busy. But they have acknowledged it. It sounds like they're trying to do some sort of fix for that. I played on PS4 mostly, and just top-notch game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'll give that a go. I do need something else for my Switch now. I think because I enjoyed Bayonetta, but I don't know if I'm gonna go for Bayonetta 2 quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Bayonetta 2 I think is a better game.
Oh, yeah.
than the
really?
first one.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I like Bayonetta, but like Bayonetta 2, I think it nails a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I can understand wanting a little break between
Yeah, the madness,
the absolute madness.
absolute madness of that game.
All right, you're going checkmate. I'm going to try Jaeger. He has a really weird Arnold Schwarzenegger accent.
He does. Forgot about that one.
Play Breath of the Wild?
Haven't yet.
Yeah.
Haven't.
that's,
So Becky's a very big fan of Zelda.
Yeah.
And says the minute we get Breath of the Wild, I have to give the Switch back to her so she can play it first.
Oh yeah, I played 120 hours in probably like a couple weeks. It's an incredible game. Probably my favorite game since I was a young child.
Oh, really?
Yeah, since Link to the Past.
He's been talking that game for a while, so I know he means it.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's my favorite game of my entire adult life.
That's a high amount of praise to live up
Yes.
to.
That's why I didn't want to say it too much when I first played it and reviewed it. I didn't want to use any too lofty statements because you never know over time. Just like, okay, was it just kind of in the moment? But like now, with a couple years removed, I stand by that.
See, I found actually, because I played Mario Odyssey earlier this year, I found as time's gone on, I don't have the need to go back to it and get every single thing in that game. And I've seen more criticism come out for that game now. Like
Right.
people saying like, oh, it's maybe not as good as people first gave it credit for. I still think it's a really good game.
Love it.
But I actually kind of think, I was like, it was a weird realization to me when I was like, wow, I really like the Rabbids game more than Odyssey.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was the weird turning
different
point.
style.
Yeah.
Something about the balance of Odyssey where I feel like it needed, I don't know, like I wish that they made you stay in each kingdom a little longer.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there's plenty more of those things to collect, there's lots to do. It's just that like the flow of it felt like you were there for 5 minutes and then they move you on to the next thing.
Yeah, and as well, it didn't feel like I had impetus to go back, apart
Right.
from to get enough moons to progress to the next thing. It did feel like a bit of a rush
Yeah.
thing.
They do some clever things though, where like the whole world will kind of change and give you a reason to go back. Like the desert world, that's frozen over.
yeah,
Once
it
you're
does.
done with that, it unfreezes. You can go back there. There's tons more moons and stuff you can get.
I went back to redid most of the worlds for like the other moons. I did the ultra hard challenge at the end as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
where you go through every sort of gimmick in that game all at once, which
Yep.
I appreciated. I
With
thought it
the
was
lava and the wall jumping and all that.
I thought it was a really good last level of that game. Just like, hey, everything you've learned, just do it.
Yeah, that was the darker side of the moon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, love that. I have to imagine the Switch is kind of a godsend for wrestlers that also like video games.
Oh my goodness! Like, I enjoy reading as well, but sometimes on an airplane, reading sometimes will send me to sleep when I travel. So the Switch is just, I can be on a 5 to 6 hour flight and be good with the Switch and feel like, oh, we're already here.
Yeah.
8 hours, right?
Yep. I got Skyrim on the Switch, and that's kind of my go-to flight game. If I have a long, 5 or 6 hour flight, I'll play Skyrim, and then I'm on the runway in Seattle all of a sudden.
I think that's probably another reason why I enjoyed the Rabbids game so much, is because I think the platforming of Mario was I had to tune into the rhythm of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas any strategy game you can just pick up and it's going to be the same when you come back
Right.
to it. It's
Yep.
kind of what has made me interested in trying to do the Banner Saga trilogy now that that's coming out on Switch.
I know he's played that.
I highly recommend those games. Like, if you I think the combat starts to wear out a little bit, especially by the time you're at the third game. Like, each of those are probably 10 to 12 hours, and the combat doesn't necessarily change up a whole lot from game to game, but the strategy's there, and the storytelling is good enough to where I think it powers through it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would recommend those for sure. If you just to be prepared to get real sad,
Oh no.
they're real sad.
Oh.
I mean, it is a apocalypse in process, and everyone is real bummed out through a lot of those games.
Okay, yeah, I could see why people wouldn't be maybe jovial about that.
Yeah.
Did the Bicycle Man just make it rain blood?
Yes, he did.
The
Red Rain of
Bicycle
Pain.
Man. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, he's got a bike helmet on,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much.
So, yeah.
All right.
So this is, I'll show my fandom for this thing again. Jaeger is a character that was heavily edited between the American and Japanese versions.
That's the bike guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a German wrestler. He was heavily edited because he was a Nazi in the German version.
Oh.
In the Japanese version.
Oh, wow.
But he was considered a good one.
That's how he was presented in the fiction?
He's okay.
Well, there's another guy who was part of the older legacy that I think is a bad guy that is
Yes.
also very much a Nazi, and I'm wondering if they were trying to be like, hey, he's not following his father's footsteps, but also he's still a Nazi.
But also he's
Oh.
in the Third Reich.
Okay.
Never comes up in the American version, weirdly.
Weird.
Huh.
Weirdly. Yeah.
That's odd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
That is maybe one of the things about Japanese entertainment that occasionally befuddles me is the just like, hey, we just have Nazi characters in this as a fairly prominent role in what
Yeah.
we're doing.
No one
Here,
has
why
a
don't you
problem.
why don't you jump in on this one? Was the I think the guy below him is Brocken Jr.
We haven't been the Walrus yet.
No,
have we?
Wally Tuskett has not
Okay.
been used yet.
Great.
These games are all right.
This seems fun. Yes.
It has a pretty elaborate story mode too, as I recall.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like it is very much like a full run through of all the different characters and some of their backstories and stuff.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
That character being named Brocken reminds me that I don't think they caught it on camera at SummerSlam, but when Brock Lesnar grabbed the Money in the Bank briefcase and threw it,
Oh, they caught it. I saw that.
did you see it
shot.
hit the screen?
Yes, and break it.
Okay, I had a real good view of that, and I about lost my shit when it hit just dead center on the screen from the ring.
Yep.
Okay, I thought everybody would have been talking about that, or I'd see it on Reddit or something, and no one has
I
said
saw
anything
gifs
about
of
it.
that immediately.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure people realize that happened.
Yep.
That was amazing. Jeez. Yeah, so this is, 4 days in a row of Barclay stuff?
Yes. And if you really break down the amount of hours as well, because you've got pre-shows
Yeah.
on SummerSlam, you've got people tape things before Takeover as well, so there's probably another added hour to Takeover.
Oh, right, there's typically like an episode that comes out afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it is somewhere between 13 and 15 hours that people ultimately end up watching of the product.
That's a whole lot of programs, man. That is a whole lot of wrestling.
Much like I liked this enough to pursue it as a career. I don't know if I want to watch 15 hours in a row. Like, my hat's off to the fans. Like, some of them really, really like pro wrestling.
Are you sure? Because the G1 just happened, and that's like, what is that, solid 3.5 weeks of just wrestling, nonstop wrestling? I watched all of it. I watched every single show.
All of the G1?
I watched well, I didn't watch all the tag matches that preceded some of the actual
Right.
tournament matches, but I did watch every single G1 tournament match.
Oh my goodness.
Because I'm out of my mind.
I hear it's good.
It is.
Yeah.
It is routinely one of the best things they do every year. And this year, I can complain about the storylines as much as I want, but as far as the actual in-ring stuff went, 75% of it was excellent.
Was Dominion the one where Kenny won finally?
Yes.
Okay, right, and that's usually in July.
Yeah,
right?
that was the
Okay.
show, that was even before that. That was when we were at PAX East, so that was
It was?
yeah.
No, that was E3.
Oh, it was E3.
That was
That's what
E3,
it was.
yeah, so
it was
in
in
June.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember Kenny did that New Day thing with
Yeah.
Street Fighter, and it was right after he won the belt.
I just remembered that I was in a hotel room watching that show.
Me too, yeah.
During downtime, and I watched that entire show.
Yeah. That it's been fascinating seeing that thing happen between the New Day and the Elite at E3. That was
the kind of frenemies thing they have going
Yeah.
on.
yeah, and just to see the companies interact in a way that you almost never see. Occasionally you'll hear references like, "Oh, Finn used to work in Japan," or "These guys used to be in a club in Japan."
Yep.
But this was a very direct, "Hey, we're working together" thing.
It's also kind of what we were talking about before of they're not going to put that on television because that's not the television product. But
Right.
they're more than happy to, hey, this is going to go out online. It'll get traction.
Yeah.
They're happy to do those things and figure out how to utilize the internet in the best way they can to promote their own stuff,
Yeah, and seeing
That's
WWE.com talk about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. It was surreal to see, really.
All right, I'm going to be classic King Muscle here. I think this will probably be the last match that we do for this here show. Make it count.
It's been really interesting seeing more wrestlers be into video games, which naturally was going to happen. Like
Just
obviously,
generationally,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you know, the new folks came in and who grew up with games.
yeah, Attitude Era guys weren't growing up playing stuff.
No.
You know, I did see I saw an interview once where John Cena is going off about Command and Conquer Red Alert, which I liked a lot. And he talked about a strategy of just building a million Kirovs and just sending a bunch of blimps to someone's base, which is my strategy. And it's like, all right, me and John Cena play Command and Conquer the same way. That's great.
I've always said you and John Cena were basically the same person.
Yeah, exactly
so,
the
yeah.
same. But now we're seeing this thing where it's like, hell, like most of the roster is probably younger than me. I'm 34, and just to see all these people like up, down, like how many people talking about games. It seemed like, you know, like I remember when Seth was world champion, him playing like Turtles in Time with Xavier. It's like, this is so cool seeing like the WWE champion playing Super Nintendo games on a WWE YouTube channel.
It is very much like you were saying, a generational thing, because you know you still have the occasional person sort of begrudge people playing video games, and you know, backstage it's not very apparent all the time, but it happens now and again. And Woods is perhaps the first person who goes like, "Hey, Andre the Giant used to sit backstage playing poker. How's
Yeah.
this any different?"
Yeah,
Like,
it's
he-
just a different type of entertainment, but
Yeah.
you know, it's the same notion, just passing the time, something to do.
He just did a completely different type of game. We're just playing cooler games.
Yes. Yeah, I think what he's done with Up, Down has been incredible because he has crossed over in the way that, like, I know so many people that are into video games but do not watch wrestling and never have, but they're familiar with Xavier Woods. You know, they see when, you know, like he's done a bunch of our like stuff. He does the
Yes.
E3 shows and everything. Like he goes to PAX and stuff like that. Like he's done this great crossover thing that is awesome to see.
He's just a very smart individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
It comes through obviously with like the characters that you see on the television. I thought that bomb was going to help me, not
Yeah,
blow me
apparently
up.
not. No, it just made things way worse.
Just as I'm speaking of another man's intelligence, I do this. He's just an incredibly smart human being who is very hardworking, and I think as well, like, you know, everyone will attest this, he's a really nice guy.
Yes.
So everyone's just happy that he's doing well as well, and he's always trying to include everyone in that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got nothing but great things to say about what he's been doing there.
Ooh.
I'd say one of the more surprising ones is the Big Show Destiny thing, because he is of that generation that you would like not expect to. I don't know if he grew up playing games, but he's definitely playing games now.
He's definitely in the games. I'm trying to remember if it was him or Mark Henry that started talking to me about God of War.
I remember we did something with Mark Henry when I was at Game Informer like 8 years ago, and back then he was talking about how him and Kane would travel with their like PS2s and everything.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I don't know if
No,
Kane
I
still
didn't
plays
know-
stuff or if he's
Ka-
busy marrying.
He's busy with his other job.
Yeah.
That little thing he's got on the side.
Yeah.
So LNR will do his at the same time. Will do his like super special. Now you're charged up.
But yeah, I feel like from that era, like Mark Henry, Kane,
Kofi.
Big Show. Yeah, Kofi. You know,
He was the one who always won the video game tournaments back at the old THQ events, as
yeah,
I recall.
yeah.
And it was funny because like for instance, like Shelton Benjamin, like he came up in a different era of pro wrestling as basically the only gamer.
Right.
So he's returned to WWE now, and he's like, this is great. Like, he gets so mad when he loses at Tekken, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's so angry. Funny story was Killian Dane of Sanity.
Yeah.
They had a Tekken tournament, or not Tekken. Yeah, he played Shelton on Tekken and just button bashed and just managed to beat him. Just played Eddie Gordo, went.
I mean, if you're
perfect.
gonna mash with someone, that's probably the guy.
Yeah.
And the best bit was Shelton's daughter was there that day, and she said, "Dad, isn't this the game you've been practicing on a lot?" And he was just like,
That's great.
Oh, that's brutal.
Is there a video of that on the internet anywhere, or is that?
I believe that will be on YouTube.
Oh,
Eventually,
okay.
yes.
All right.
Excellent.
All right. Well, Abby, I think we're ready to close things out. Jack, thank you for coming out and hanging out with
Yeah.
us. This was
Thanks
super
very
fun.
much. I really enjoyed it. Anytime I'm in New York, I'm happy to come back.
Please do, yeah.
Do you have anything in particular you would like to promote? Right, obviously 205 Live is on the network. I think the
Yes.
episodes are also on Hulu.
They are indeed.
The day after.
I'm on Twitter as Gentleman Jack G, and I'm on Instagram as Mr. Gentleman Jack. Buy my action figure.
Yes.
Buy my product.
Buy my products. I have a dog to feed. Aside from that, no. That's
All
my
right.
shameless self-promotion out of the way.
Well, right on. Thank you very much, man.
Thank
you. Dan, as always, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be back the next time. There's something to talk about with wrestling, I guess. I don't know. Thanks for joining us. We'll see ya.